I can almost guarantee that you don't understand how the US became the world's superpower. And instead of telling you the boring way, we're going to do it metaphorically. A parable of sorts about a mafia crime family. Imagine you're the head of this crime family. We'll call them the Pizzas. You're not a very rich family, but you take up quite a bit of space. What you have in your territory is a lot of really poor people who will almost work for free, and as it's prohibition, the best source of alcohol in the entire city. So you use both things to make an insane amount of money. You're making way more money than anybody else, but your territory is off in the corner of the city. And as long as you offer manpower and alcohol at a reasonable price, everyone generally leaves you alone. And then the other families start fighting and a street war starts. One of the sides is getting their ass kicked, and so they turn to you for manpower and money. We'll call them the Tea and Crumpet Alliance. You're pretty reluctant because you've got it pretty good. Your people don't, but things are at least relatively calm. And then one of the families on the other side, we'll call them the Sashimis. Instead of asking for help because they know that you're close to their enemy, they just start killing your men and taking your money. So you're forced in, but it's a huge mistake for the ones that attacked you. You have so many men and so much money that you overwhelm the other families, even massacring an entire neighborhood. And when the dust settles, you find yourself on top. Everyone else is depleted, but you see an opportunity. So you start going to the other families in the city to make them an offer they can't refuse. There was one family, though, that was just so big that it couldn't really be pushed around. And they were known to just treat everybody horribly. We'll call them the Dragos. But you're smart, and you start using that for your own nefarious purposes, drumming up how big of a threat they are to the other families. So you start going to families around the city saying that you can protect them and even give them money and manpower to strengthen their operation and protect them from those crazy people. But there's a catch. Anything they buy with that money, they've got to buy from you. And you control the prices, so there's really no choice. And over time, you keep increasing the requirements to the point where these families are so dependent on you, they might as well be part of your family. But you're not running a commune here. You need all those other territories to stay poor, at least poor enough to where you can bring in enough wealth to pay off enough people to keep them quiet, keep people in your territory from complaining. Now, to keep you from taking over because you're out of control, some of the families get desperate and turn to the Dragos for protection. They at least don't require as much for protection, but the protection isn't really as good and really only consists of shedding blood. They don't have as much money, so they just sacrifice people. And that can't sustain itself over time and eventually crumbles. So when all is said and done, you end up with a very powerful pizza family. The rest of the city, though, is still kind of left wondering how they did this so efficiently and so quickly. Little did they know that the Pizzas had a secret weapon. A small family named the Schnitzels that was willing to do anything for the Pizzas. Literally anything. So much so that eventually they started running the entire pizza operation without anyone knowing. This is the last 100 years of American foreign policy.